right? I think if you're in the valley, you probably need to start praising God, right? Because and praising, not praying, praising God, because you can only go up. If you're in the valley, there's only one direction to go, right? It's up. So you gotta be like, whoo, right? I'm going up. There's a come up somewhere in my situation. And you know, as they say, if you're going through a forest, you might as well keep going because you're gonna, you know, if you go, you know, halfway into a forest and then you're like, man, this is too much, and then you go back out, you if you would have used that same energy, you would have been done, right? So you might as well just persist through, right? And so praise, you know, praise God, know where you're at when you're in the valley. Understand that for on the spiritual side, the same way you rely on the Lord, whatever higher power you believe in, entities, whatever, the same way you rely on God and you call out to God when you're in the valley, it's the same consistent effort you need to have when you're on the mountaintop. So it doesn't matter if you're on the valley, you should be praising regardless, right? I made it to the top. Because if you're at the top of the mountain, where's the next level? You're going down somewhere. You're going down. It's just inevitable. And so you gotta, you know, you have to be consistent in your dependency, your praise, number one. Number two, you have to go back, and this is why I tell people you have to rely on your past successes when you were in valleys before. You know, if you're new to this and this is you're coming into adulthood, I got students who this is all new, right? This pandemic, this housing, this is all new for everybody, right? But for them, they're trying to experience adulthood, and they're the first generation in the history of higher education that have had to completely strip the traditional way in which we've taught high school. I mean, how we've taught college, right? So they might be in a valley spot where there's pandemic, social unrest, fiscal issues where they lose their job because the campus ain't open, things like that. And you have to rely on, and you have to think about what are your resources? Who are your inner circle, number one? Who's your source and who's your resource? Your source should be God. And then who's your resources? That should be your close homies and friends that you know can, you know, lift you up, give you some guidance while you're trying to figure out things. When you're at the mountaintop, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, are you at the mountaintop by yourself or did you bring people with you? Because that's the selfish mindset, right? So, you know, everybody wants to reach the mountaintop, but what's the point of reaching the mountaintop if you have no one to celebrate it with? You got there and then you look and you done stepped on all your friends to get there. You done lost your identity to get there. You don't know who you are anymore to get there. You're doing things and things that you thought you would never do, you've done, things like that. So if you're at the mountaintop, you know, the thing I always talk about is the elevator concept. If you got to the mountain by climbing the stairs, then you need to hit the elevator so that someone don't have to climb the same stairs that you had to go up. You can be able to lift them up through your knowledge and wisdom of knowing what it took when you had to go up them flights of stairs, right? So you should always make it easy. I always tell people, you know, my job when I talk to students and teach students and you know, people who want me to be a mentor for them, I always say my goal for you is for me to be completely envious and jealous of you 5 years from now. Why? Because if you really impart what I'm talking about and what I've learned into your life, then you should be exponentially ahead of me in 5 years. Because you didn't have to go through those pitfalls, you didn't have to make those mistakes. So you're on a smoother plane already, right? And no one, and I'm not asking for, you know, a bunch of handouts and stuff like that. I always tell my students, if you make it big, I just want 2%. I just want 2%. That's all I say. And I learned that from McDonald's franchise. Just give me 2% of what you make. And if I invest in everybody and I get 2%, I'm wealthy. I'm wealthy. So, you know, that's what I would say to someone who's in the valley or in the mountaintop.